Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. You are looking at the remarkable, amazing, and once upon a time really expensive Pfaff model number 6, and you are looking at what I believe here are all of the parts that need to go back to the machine to get ready for the ultimate test to see if all of my labor and effort will bear fruit, if the machine will actually stitch. So I am going to be making videos as I go through this process to show all of you how I put it back together. Now I have various videos on how I disassembled various pieces, but for some of you, you may have taken the machine apart, and if you've done like I have at times, you've figured out how to take it apart, but now you can't put it back together. You would think, oh, well, I'll just do it in the reverse. Yes, but if you don't photograph what you're supposed to be doing or what you're doing when you take it apart, or if you don't make notes to yourself, maybe you don't remember. That's happened to me before, and I've had to figure out how to put something back together that I took apart. I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but hey. So I'm going to show you all how I go about reconstructing or reassembling all of the pieces that I have disassembled in order to get this machine ready for a new life. So I'm going to begin with the motor housing, and the motor belt. Those are two of the first things I am going to do. So we've gotten a new camera angle here, and I have my trusty screwdriver bit kit here. So again, if you are doing this for the first time, remember that many vintage sewing machines from this era, the motor is attached to a bracket, and the bracket is going to attach to the side, the right side of your machine, and it is going to be held on with a bolt. When I took this motor off, I put the bolt in a place where I knew I would find it and not misplace it. So I simply put it back into the place where it had been. When I put this back, after I had taken everything out, I actually put just a drop of sewing machine oil on the very end of the bolt. And so as I work it in, it basically, again, this is not part of normal oiling. It may not need it for another 75 years, how old this thing is. So let's go ahead, and again, I'm going to install the bracket, and I'm going to actually get the bolt in so that the bracket is on the machine. We're not going to fully tighten it at this point because we've got to get our belt on. So basically all I'm attempting to do here is get the bracket behind the bolt, and I'm going to get the bolt started, and you can decide how far in you want to screw the bolt in, but don't screw it all the way. Again, we want the bracket movable, right? And of course, before we put our belt on, we will need the hand wheel. Remember that the hand wheel is essentially a pulley. You can see the groove. You'll see this on almost every vintage domestic sewing machine, with the exception being some of the Singers, which actually used, they're called potted motors, but I believe Singer referred to it as direct drive. And direct drive motors do not, they have hand wheels, but they don't have grooves. They actually don't need belts. They were beltless. Thus the term direct drive. All right, so as I mentioned to you all before, there is basically a nice, large, heavy sleeve or bushing, if I may use that term, here in the center of the hand wheel. I'm just going to put a few drops of sewing oil. I can also put some here on the shaft. Now, this hand wheel, this piece here is going to butt up on the inside. So I'm going to put, again, I'm not drowning it in oil. I'm basically just going to put some here so that it has some oil as it attaches. And it should go on beautifully easy, like it just did. And I might as well go ahead and I can hang the belt right there. But of course, my hand wheel is not secure yet. So let's get a little bit of a zoom here. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to take my clutch washer, and again, I want there are two flanges right here in the one on, you basically see it like that. There are two, and I want them to flare upward, and that, when they flare upward, that is going to face outward. Does that make sense? Now, I am now going to take one drop, don't really need any more, a nice drop there of sewing oil, and I'm going to put it on the threads of my clutch knob, and I can adjust the knob later. I just want to make sure it's on there so the hand wheel doesn't come flying off. Now, what's next? It is now time to adjust the belt, or at least get the belt connected. And remember, in past videos, I've already done cleaning. I've cleaned the pulley. I've cleaned the pulley on the hand wheel, and I've cleaned the pulley on the motor. So I'm going to lift up on the bracket so that I can easily slip the belt into the motor pulley, that little tiny pulley there. And for the moment, I'm just going to snug the bolt down just to get this. I mean, I can adjust the belt now, I suppose. Did you all notice something that I did not do? I can do this, but it might have been easier for me to do before I put the belt on. I don't know. This, of course, is the light fixture, or the lamp, that plugs into the left side of the motor, and it actually bolts into the housing of the motor itself. But I can still do it. So if I had done it with the motor off, then I would have had a bigger object to sort of manage. So maybe this was best. All right, let's look at our tension. Now, tension, I've explained on a number of occasions that belt tension is something you have to eyeball and listen for. So right now I have the bolt here. The bracket still has some room to go. I could drop it further, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take my finger, clean finger, by the way, and push in. When I push in, I should be able to get that belt to flex about 1/4 of an inch or so. This is very eyeball stuff here, okay? I don't have an instrument to measure the tension. What we want, and in fact, I could even raise the motor just a hair, or raise the bracket, which will raise the motor pulley. And I'm going to actually start with the belt a little looser than normal, because when a belt is functioning and it does not slip, that means it's functioning properly. So you want the belt to be as loose as possible without slipping. That means you're going to get the most lifetime out of both the belt and the motor. So we don't want to overly stress either of those two. They will appreciate that, and so will you. All right, so that is done. We've just installed the motor. Now it's time to, might as well go ahead and get our light fixture reattached to the motor. Plugging it in won't be difficult, but we need to reattach it with the screws. Switch out our screwdriver tip. Okay, so we're back on the back side of the machine. Make this hopefully possible for you to see. And as I have mentioned many times, and it bears repeating, never oil a sewing machine motor unless it has a place to oil and you know exactly where that is. I chose to add some oil here, right here where I've already done it. um, where the shaft is actually spinning and there's nothing, there's actually no cover there. It's just sitting there. I guess you could call the light bracket sort of a cover. Now, remember, these openings here are for air, not for oil. Do not put any oil anywhere else. These two holes are not for oil. These holes are for the bolts that attach the light fixture bracket. Now, normally, I often advise adding 1 drop of oil to most bolts and screws that go into a sewing machine. However, I am making an exception here, and I am going to say don't, because I don't know if these holes are, I don't know if they come in contact with anything else. And the fact is, I don't know if that could cause issues with the motor, and I'm not going to take that chance. There is no corrosion on the bolts. They unscrewed beautifully, and there's a washer here, and I'm not sure what the washer is made of, but I don't want the oil to soak into it either. So I'm going to let sleeping dogs lie when it comes to that, because again, I want to be extra careful. Remember, by the way, the other side of this bracket, you can see the cord from the light socket comes down, and the cord just sort of lives. It's just designed to live on the inside of this bracket. Of course, you see the plug for the light hanging down here. So when this goes back in, right, we want to make sure that the cord is able to do what you see here. And when I took it out, that's how it was, and I don't think it had ever been removed before. And you can see the cord has this shape because it's been bent in this position for a long time. So it doesn't come out to the side or anything like that. It literally just hangs there, right? Not bothering anyone or anything. It just sort of hangs here, like so. All right, so we are going. Now, because when you think about, okay, how are you going to figure out how to do this, you actually, this is unusual, you can actually sort of see, I would zoom in for you, you may be able to see where the bolts themselves go into the holes, because it's very nice to be able to see this. And I'm going to just start with one here. I'm going to just turn it enough to get it start the threading, but I'm not going to thread it all the way in because I need to make sure that I've got the lower one. They're vertical. I want to make sure it has found its, there we go, and it's threading. Remember, if you ever attempt to thread any bolt of any kind, anywhere, if it does not move smoothly, either it's corroded or more likely you don't have it threaded properly and you could strip the threads, and that would be not a lot of fun. So again, if that happens to you, then just do like I did, just back it out and come back, and try again. You want to make sure the threads are going to catch and that they're not going to cross what is called cross threading, where you basically strip out the threads and it makes for a mess. So, but these have turned, and as they snug, I stop. Remember, this is I'm just going to, if you can watch as I turn it, as soon as it snugs and it wants to give me resistance, I stop. That bracket's not going anywhere, right? And the same with the top bolt. It's fine. Do not over torque them. They are not holding the world in suspension. It will be okay. This light fixture does not weigh that much. And all we have left to do now is take, and I've cleaned with my alcohol. Last week sometime I cleaned these brass contacts, of course. They spared no expense back in the day. And I'm just going to take it and plug it in. There it is. So I also cleaned off the motor, by the way, because if you clean one part of your machine and not the other, you will notice the difference because they will look like two different colors. So I actually wiped down the motor and the bracket so that it would blend in as it should with the body of the machine. So there we go. We now have the hand wheel, the belt, and the motor. And we will work our way around, and in the next video I will continue this journey as we reassemble the Pfaff model number 6 to see if this sewing machine restorer has done everything he needs to do so that the machine actually runs and sews a stitch. So hang in there, folks. We're getting closer to the day when I'm going to know if all this effort was worth it. I appreciate your patience. Some of you are more patient than I am, I think. And I will see all of you in the next installment.